We fade into view looking at an unsuspecting city. Suddenly, the silence is broken by a piercing laser destroying the center of the city to bits. We hear maniacal laughter coming from off-screen, but soon it will be revealed where it is coming from. We cut to our antagonist, Eggman, who is reveling in his destructive plans.
BWAHAHAHA! I've done it! Nothing can stop my satellite, my new satellite! Soon I'll rule the planet, just you wait, King Shadow! There's the camera, you too, Princess Elise!
We now see the backup generators kick on. Small but deadly robots begin pouring out of the ship, ready to lay waste to everything.
Oh dear! I'm too late to stop the destruction of the planet! Turns away. Bah! Who am I kidding? No one can stop me now!
I didn't know that Eggman works for the fossil fuel industry.
The camera slowly zooms in on his face before cutting to black.
Why is the
Sonic
camera zooming
destruction.
in? Sonic destruction. Why is the camera zooming?
Interior shot, Sonic's hotel, morning.
Thank you.
A rooster's crow is heard as we open up to see the world-famous hedgehog standing in front of a bathroom mirror with toothbrush in hand. He spits out a bit of foam and stares at himself in the mirror. Sonic's mind quickly begins to wander to the past, to a time he would rather forget. Sonic to Vietnam. Gunshots, planes, sirens. Sonic closes his eyes and shakes his head, trying to forget the painful memories. He opens his eyes once more, staring at his clean teeth. He remembers his promise to Princess Elise, and the vow he made with her. He had failed, and the planet was dying as a result.
Maybe a nice jaw to clear my head will help.
He spits out the foam in his mouth and tosses the toothbrush in a nearby bin. He steps outside of his bathroom and promptly shuts the door. He walks into the outer room and sees Tails already up and watching TV. The fox is dressed and ready for the day. Tails notices his friend's in melancholy mood, but doesn't say anything about it.
Morning, Sonic. You're up early today.
Sonic jumps a little at the sound of Tails' voice.
I scared you.
Yeah, I mean, gotta get that morning jog in to clear my head.
Nods. Sure thing, Sonic.
The blue hedgehog quickly opens up the hotel door and dashes out of the room, shutting the door behind him. Tails squints at the door before shaking his head. He grabs the remote and turns the TV off, getting ready to start his day. Pan to a full shot of the hotel. Cut to black. Cut to exterior, city hilltop, day. A full garbed trio of freedom fighters are looking at a large billboard. The earth has a giant hole in it, with smoke billowing out of it. A caption at the bottom reads, "The end of the world?"
What, are they trying to sell
The camera
something?
pans to the right to see Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles.
You guys hear about this?
Yeah, it was all over the news. Yeah, it was all over the news. Didn't you see it?
Shakes head. Nope. All I saw was you in the paper this morning.
Sonk chuckles.
Yeah, my face on the front page. They named me the city's greatest hero.
Tails looks at him in disbelief.
Really?
Nah, that was just a headline. They still called me a hero in the article, though.
Knuckles rolls his eyes. He stands between the trio and the billboard.
What?
We're not here to discuss the media's praises. We're here to help those people.
Tails looks at the billboard once more, before turning his attention to Knuckles.
What do you need us to do?
Cut. Interior, Eggman's ship. The day. We fade in to see a rather large room. The walls are metal, cold to the touch. There are large fans in the corner of the room, working tirelessly to keep the air flowing. Banks of computers, or that's the air sound?
Yeah.
Banks of computers are in the middle of the room, LCD screens displaying readouts of systems that are likely very important. In the middle of it all is a large, robotic suit, standing at attention. A door opens off to the side of the room, and in steps Dr. Eggman. The suit's head turns to look at him, while its arm unfolds and raises a salute.
ANI-042.
The robot's arms return to its side.
We need to pick up the pace. We have 3 more robots ready to go, and another 12 under construction.
This news seems to please the doctor. He smiles wickedly.
The first one, 046, is ready to be deployed. I think it's time we see if your training was a success.
The gunmetal gray robot nods once more, then turns and walks out the door.
Get out.
Cut to interior gunhold day. We see a massive room filled with rows upon rows of robots. Some are bipedal, some are robotic arms with grippers for hands. Some are large and tank-like, some are spider-like, and some are tiny. They are all inactive, however.
Hello. Tiny.
The camera pans to the right to see a robot similar to 042 from the previous scene working on a console nearby. It finishes its work, then walks over to the robot it's working on, pushing a button on the panel. The panel lights up green with an audible click. Click. The robot then begins to power up, its eyes flashing blue. This process continues down the line, with each row of robots powering up in sequence. Once the last row has powered up, all 1,008 robots flash blue.
Shit.
1,008 robots flash blue eyes and turn to look at the camera simultaneously. Exterior, hilltop, day. They're still there? Sonic and Tails are staring at the robot horde warily. They turn to look at each other.
Yeah, think we should run?
Tails considers this for a moment, then grabs Sonic by the arm.
No, they haven't seen us yet. Nods towards the robots. I've never seen this model before.
Sonic looks at him, puzzled.
We need to check it out. Maybe there's a way to stop them.
The two heroes jog over to the robots, a saunterly jog over to the robots, who continue to mill about the hilltop.
Also, where the fuck did I go? I've had 2 lines so far.
Interior, back at Gunhold.
Get ready to feel my
The
grip.
camera pans over to a large glass window in the wall, where we see a close-up of a man with a gray military haircut and a clean-shaven face looking out over the room. He smiles.
Beautiful, isn't it?
The camera then pans over to see the man is Dr. Gerald Robotnik. He stands, arms crossed, staring at a row upon row of tubes filled with a clear, viscous liquid. Inside each one, our particular creation of his swims around.
I am a little creation.
This creation is a black creature, vaguely humanoid in its shape. It has small legs, 2 short arms with claw-like fingers, and a long, snake-like neck. A single large eye sits in the middle of its head. A single toothy mouth fills its entire underside, with 3 nostrils by its side. At the base of its throat sits a gem, a blue, translucent gem. These are the specimens of the beast known as the Horde.
Holy shit!
Indeed they are, Dad. With this, the military will have the last word in any war.
We see a close-up of a single tube, containing a slightly different creature. This one looks very similar to Sonic, but colored black and red. There are a few notable differences, however. Its arms and legs are longer, its eyes are larger, and it has a long, lizard-like tail instead of a second hand.
Sonic's famous second head.
In addition, this beast has a gem located in its stomach, rather than its throat.
How is the ultimate life form faring?
The camera pans up to Dr. Eggman's face.
It seems to be developing well. Its strength, speed, and resilience are far beyond that of any creature.
The camera pans back over to the tube.
If it continues developing at this rate, it should be able to survive outside the tank for 3 more months.
I have an important mission for you.
The camera switches to an outside view of the entire room, where we see that it seems to be located at the bottom of a large underground complex. Large metal hallways, they love large. Large metal hallways twist and wind their way several hundred yards in any direction. Whichever way you want. Military soldiers stand ready at various intervals. All equipped with the latest weapons and armor. Large, heavily armored war machines are parked in the center of the halls. Large metal elevators connect the floors above and below this one, where more soldiers prepare for battle. The camera slowly zooms in on a large metal door at the end of the hallway. The door has a large transparent window. We see Dr. Robotnik and Gerald standing. Dr. Robotnik is wearing a military uniform, and Gerald is wearing a less decorative version of the armor worn by the soldiers.
What is it?
The door opens, and the camera focuses on Gerald and Dr. Robotnik, who are
Yes,
different
Dad?
people now. We slowly zoom in on Dr. Robotnik's face.
What is it, Dad?
We continue to part ways with Gerald and Dr. Robotnik as the tension builds and the music swells. We see a close-up of Dr. Robotnik's face as he begins to speak.
Yes, Dad.
Gerald, I have a special mission for you.
What is it, Dad?
We see a close-up of Dr. Robotnik's face as he begins to speak.
Gerald, the ultimate life form is nearly ready.
We part ways with Dr. Robotnik and Gerald as the tension boils.
God. I want fucking out of here. I want out of this shit.
Cut to city, evening. We see the city of Station Square at night. Cut to interior casino, evening. Sonic the Hedgehog, with his spikes gelled down and wearing a leather jacket, walks into a casino. A large crowd of people can be seen through the entrance. On his heels is Tails, with his two tails curled up in an unsuccessful attempt to make them look like a single tail. He wears a leather jacket as well. Tails stops walking.
This is an awful plan. The robots will recognize us right away.
No, they won't. I fixed their recognition scanners.
Knuckles walks up to the pair of them, wearing a red leather jacket.
What are you guys doing here? Weren't you supposed to be in the city with each other? With the others?
He's not even in disguise. He's just wearing a jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just gonna go do that now.
Sonic takes off his jacket and hands it to Tails.
Here, wear this.
2 jackets.
Tails begins putting on the jacket.
Hey guys.
The trio turns around to see Rouge the Bat walk towards them. She's wearing a long, sparkly black dress that goes down to her ankles. On her back are a pair of bat-like wings.
Hey, what are you doing here? I thought you'd be in the city helping the others.
They don't need my help.
Is anyone in the city helping the others?
Knuckles, relax. They've got it under control.
Who's
The
they?
civilians will be fine.
They got it!
It's fine, don't worry about it.
Exterior city, evening. We see Shadow and Silver walking down the street. Shadow wears a red t-shirt with a black jacket over it. On his wrists are a pair of black gauntlets with gold wrist guards. Silver has his hoodie on. Scared.
This place is a dump.
Shut up. It's not that bad.
Tell me, when were you planning on telling me that you're moving here?
I'm not. I just came to visit my friend.
Friend? What friend? You've never mentioned a friend before.
Yeah, well, I made one.
Shadow doesn't look amused.
Is it a girl?
Silver looks at Shadow with a mix of repulsion and confusion.
What? Shadow? Is he jealous? No, it's a robot.
Oh, so you made a friend. You did make a friend.
So you made a friend.
A robot. Seriously? I can't imagine being friends with a robot.
Yeah, his name's QB. He's cool.
I don't know why you're friends with me.
Suddenly, a black and red hover car appears from around a corner with flashing blue and red lights on top. It stops in front of Shadow and Silver. A voice projects from a speaker on the car. It's Eggman.
Shadow, you've committed the most heinous of crimes. You have stolen my doctor's research. Return it and watch her face the consequences.
Shadow looks at Silver.
Did you?
Of course he did. The evidence is right there.
Shadow, is it true? Did you do this?
Where the fuck did you come from? Also, have we met?
Silver turns to look at the speakers below the car.
The screen says he did it.
On the speakers below the car.
Can't fight with facts on the screen, dude.
Shadow?
Don't look at me. I've never been here before in my life.
That doesn't answer the question, Shadow.
Don't play dumb, Shadow. It's embarrassing.
Suddenly, the blue hedgehog puts his arm through the car window and fires a laser from his wrist.
Watch out!
Whoa!
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
Whoa!
Sonic speeds forward and smashes Shadow and Silver away from the car. As he does this, the doctor fires missiles from the bottom of his car, creating a smoke screen. The car speeds away. Sonic, Shadow, and Silver get up from the ground. Sonic dashes forwards, jumping into the air with a spin attack. As he lands, the car bursts into flames and spins out of control. It crashes into a nearby tree. The three run forward to where the car landed. However, when they get there, it appears empty. Shadow sniffles, but then stops.
It's pollen season.
I have allergies.
Forgot to take my Claritin today.
Sonic looks around.
It's no use. He could be anywhere.
It's no use!
This will end
it!
From off-screen, a piercing From off-screen, a piercing cry is heard. Sonic and Shadow run to the source of the noise. They see a black hedgehog with green eyes on his hands and knees, sobbing. It's Shadow.
What? Oh, God!
Shadow looks up at Shadow.
Shadow 2!
What? Which one is which?
Okay, I'm sorry, brother. I failed you again.
Sonic takes a step back in shock. Shadow looks up at him.
I failed the whole world. And worst of all, I failed our promise to her.
Sonic sits down next to him. He faces Shadow.
Listen, Shadow. It's okay.
Shadow punches him in the face.
No! It's not okay! She's dead because of me!
Sonic uses his tail to grab a rock. He throws it into the woods.
Shadow, listen.
What?
Let's get back to what's important.
What do you mean?
Sonic points at Shadow. Sonic points to the woods. Sonic points to himself. From beyond the woods, Amy is heard crying out loud.
Oh, Sonic! Please!
Sonic runs past Shadow. He looks back at him. Sonic runs into the woods.
What?
Okay.
Interior woods, night. Shadow looks at his hands in awe. Shadow looks around, but sees nothing. He instead puts his hands in his pockets and begins walking away. Interior woods, night! Suddenly, a hand grabs Shadow's shoulder. He turns around to see Princess Elise. Except it isn't her. Her eyes are red, and she looks deranged.
Oh my god, dude, what is happening?
Do you like it?
Shadow is shocked to do nothing but nod.
I'm glad. Nobody else understands my fashion sense.
Shadow takes a step back.
Except you, Shadow. You understand me.
Shadow can't find any words to say. He looks at her with a mix of confusion and intrigue.
We're gonna do something amazing together. Just you and me.
What is it?
You'll see soon. But first, we need to prepare. We've got to get you a disguise for a few reasons.
I don't understand, girl.
Shadow looks at her.
No, we're robbing a bank.
Sonic runs up to Amy, who is yelling and frantically running around the woods.
Where were you? You just left without me. You can't leave me behind like that, Sonic.
What are you talking about?
I woke up and you were gone. I looked all over the city for you.
I've been here the whole time.
No, you haven't. I would have seen you.
You do realize we can run faster than sound, right?
Sonic smirks. Tails walks up to the two of them.
What's going on?
Facing away from Tails.
Sonic's a liar. He says he wasn't gone in the night, but he was.
Sonic covers his face in his hands.
I can't handle this right now.
Tails pushes Amy.
Jesus! Stop messing with him. Let's all sit down and listen to his story.
They all sit down on logs around a campfire. Sonic sighs and begins telling his story.
Last night, I saved the city from Dr. Eggman and his minions.
I'm gonna guess that's the same doctor that made that fake princess.
Where'd you come from?
Hi, Knuckles.
Where were you?
Okay.
How do you know that? Where did you come from?
You know what? Unlike you, Sonic, I have been with Amy all night.
That's right. I defeated him with Shadow's help. But in doing so, I caused a lot of collateral damage.
So, you saved the city, but you broke it.
Pretty much. I came back to the hotel to get some sleep. Next thing I know, Princess Elise is screaming at me for breaking my promise not to leave the hotel room.
Wait, She woke you up in the middle of the night to yell at you?
Pretty much. She's not a morning person.
God.
Laugh track.
Women, right?
God.
So what are you gonna do now?
Sonic glares at Knuckles.
Ugh.
Knuckles raises his hands in defense.
I'm gonna go back to bed.
Yo, Knuckles is like, yo, square up! Yo!
Try some shit. You'll catch these hands.
Block this overhead.
Hi, this is the artist speaking, doing a quick ad for my Twitch. I'm making these animatics live, and not just that, I'm breaking them down and explaining my decisions. Why does Sonic look like that? Why does Eggman's design keep changing? Why is Shadow's jacket so short? You'll find out at twitch.tv/yzycreates. I'll also be looking at other animations, breaking them down and enjoying it all. Plus, on Friday, Fun Day Friday, where we chill and enjoy the vibes. See you there every Monday 3 PM, Wednesday 6 PM, and Friday 6 AM EST at twitch.tv/yzycreates. These animatics take a lot of work and time, and I get no money for it. So help me out on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/yzycreates for early videos, make suggestions, see early sketches, and even get sketch commissions every month on the higher tiers. Patreon.com/yzycreates. Help me keep making these.
Interior hotel. Night. Sonic enters his hotel room and sees Shadow standing in the middle of the room.
Oh, hey Shadow. Didn't expect to see you here.
I need to talk to you about something really important. It's about the princess.
All right. Well, take a seat.
Shadow sits down on the bed.
Sonic, why don't you sit over there?
Shadow points at the bathtub.
You fucking smelly.
Shadow, look at me. Tell me what is wrong with this image.
Sonic walks over to the bathtub and sits down.
I'm going to tell you something about the princess that you might not know.
Okay.
She's evil.
What?
I'm telling you, she's evil. You know how we always talk about things and analyze them to find the truth about them?
No.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
No. What are you even talking about?
We dig deeper than what's on the surface.
You lost me.
I'm saying the princess is controlling you. She's making you do things against your own will.
That's ridiculous.
It is? When was the last time you got a haircut?
I'm a hedgehog. That's just how we look.
Do you have a favorite food?
Yes, chili dogs.
Have you ever had one?
Shadow, get the fuck out of my
room. Shadow stands up from the bed and glares at Sonic. Suddenly, a knock is heard on the door.
Hello? Is this where the meeting is? It says meeting on the door.
Yeah, come in.
Okay.
Knuckles enters. Shadow turns to face him.
Sorry for the mess. Shadow was just leaving. Are Rouge and Silver going to be able to make it?
No, they said something came up.
Okay, can you give them a call to let them know the meeting time? We gotta get this taken care of as soon as possible. Everyone who's here has been briefed on the situation.
I wanted to speak to you about that.
Knuckles takes a piece of paper out of his pocket and hands it to Sonic.
This is a list of people who can help us. Some of them might be a little unusual, but they all have the skill to help us.
Sonic looks at the names on the list.
Oh, God.
Espio the Chameleon. Big the Cat. Captain William Buccaneer.
No, that's a character. That's a character.
Dude.
Chip.
Dude, Chip.
Chip.
Sergeant O. Ivor the Engine.
That's my OC.
Professor Uma Mobius Fargod.
No, that's Moebius. That's from the comics.
Lucas the Flaming Centipede. Espio the Chameleon is a character from the Sonic comics.
Knuckles, this is
Big the Cat is a character from the Sonic Adventure games. Sonic folds up the list and stuffs it into his leather jacket.
Thanks, Nux. Now, what's the situation looking like with the robots outside? Is the city safe?
Yeah, the military has everything under control.
Okay, let's get going, boys and girls. It's time to save the world.
Oh my god.
Why did you say that?
No one else is in the room. Interior, Eggman control room, night. Eggman is sitting in his control room, looking at a screen showing various areas of the city. Robots are patrolling the streets. What is our next order, sir?
Continue patrolling.
How's it going, Eggman?
Not great. You made a lot of trouble for me.
That's because you're a madman bent on ruling the world.
I'm a scientist. A scientist with a vision.
Yeah, you're a madman with a vision.
Why are you here, Sonic? Do you intend to stop me from conquering the world?
Actually, I came here to stop you from destroying it.
That's not...
You can conquer it all you like.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Just don't break anything.
It's too late for that. The planet's life force has already been depleted. It has no chance of recovery.
I have the planet's survival in my hands.
It's gone.
Maybe I should destroy it.
So,
what is happening?
So you're here to stop me from taking over the world, and you're threatening to destroy the planet.
You see how unreasonable you're being?
God.
I see someone who's lost his way.
Look at you. You got me in your clutches, but you're not gonna finish me off. You're not gonna take over the world. Why?
Because I've lost. That's why.
No, you haven't. You just don't realize it yet.
Oh, but I have. You see, you've won your little battle, whatever, but you've stopped my plans of world domination.
True. That's not why I'm here. I came to offer you a chance at real victory.
Really? It seems to me that you're the one who's lost. You've lost your way, Sonic.
I'm here, aren't I? I'm trying to help you.
Help me? That's a good one.
But you're right. Maybe I'm not here to help you. Maybe I'm here to help the humans, or even the planet itself. I want you to let everyone go.
Oh yeah? And what are you gonna do about it?
I challenge you. A race. If I win, you have to promise to never bother these people again.
You know, I've been planning this for years.
Eggman presses a button on his control panel, opening a large metal door to the right. Beyond the door stands Gerald and the ultimate life form from the gunhold.
So, you're entering your super weapon in this race?
I'm not entering anything. The ultimate life form is autonomous. Its own being. It's the first of its kind.
What, you're just letting it loose? Aren't you worried it'll kill everyone?
It can do whatever it wants.
Doctor, what are you doing?
Whoever that was, I don't expect you'll be able to beat him. He's the future.
Roars.
Great.
Anyway, to its former glory. A new era, a new beginning.
But a race first, yeah? One last race. Me and the ultimate life form. If I win, you agree to never bother these people again. If the ultimate life form wins, well, I guess you can do whatever you want.
Sonic turns from the screen and looks at the ultimate life form.
You ready?
The ultimate life form lets out a loud, guttural roar, turning to the exit.
Yo, everyone, remember, we're doing this so you don't have to put up with this madman anymore.
Silently, the ultimate life form marches forward towards the door.
Am I still the madman in the situation?
I don't know.
no.
What are you doing? You scared?
The ultimate life form turns to Sonic, roaring. It seems angry. Very angry.
That's it. Come get me, you stupid hunk of junk.
The ultimate life form advances towards Sonic. It's not very fast, but its angry presence is certainly commanding. Sonic speeds off to the left.
I'll give it that.
And bye.
Race begins, I guess.
Exterior, city, night. The entire city is in flames.
Oh no.
Buildings are crumbling, fires are burning, and the streets are littered with bodies.
Oh my god.
The city's people try to escape, but there's nowhere to run. Shadow, Silver, Rogue, and Amy are standing looking at the chaos.
Do something!
The streets are filled with escapees running from the carnage.
Why is this happening?
It's the end. The world's gonna end. We need to get off the planet.
What are you talking about? We need to find out what's happening.
Ignores Silver and Rouge, turns to Knuckles. We need to find the other.
The camera just pans and Knuckles
Always
around.
omnipresent. I've always been here. They're dead. You didn't see what I
What?
saw. Everyone's dead. All of them.
What the fuck?
Okay.
The screen goes black.
This is how it always happens. Why does everyone give up so easily? We're never going to survive if we just accept death.
The screen fades back into the city streets. Shadows run across the street. Shadows run across the street. Screams and roars fill the air. A rotten fish-like smell wafts through the air.
Holy shit!
It's no use.
There it is.
Yay! We got a voiceover! Yay! You did it! Yay!
A large beast is in the center of the city. It looks like something straight out of hell. The beast is covered in burnt orange scales. On its shoulders stand Princess Elise. She raises her hand, and the beast lets out a mighty roar.
She is evil!
Why are you putting us through this?
Kill him! Kill them all!
The dragon lets out a roar and advances towards the helpless citizens.
To Silver and Rouge. Go! Find something to help us fight this monster!
Rouge
Yeah,
nods
okay.
and sprints off into one of the charred streets of the city. Silver hesitates, looking back at the monstrosity. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath.
Hey, a new record. I'm staying with you guys. If we're all going to die, I'm gonna die fighting by your side.
Silver stands next to Shadow.
Stay close, then. Got what I want. Okay.
Steroids, steroids. Does whatever smart.
He's deranged.
Elise makes a fist, and then the dragon bursts forward. It flies straight into Shadow, sending him to the ground.
Ugh. Gets up, spits out blood. Damn it.
It's payback time for what you did to me, Shadow.
The dragon flies toward Shadow for a second attack. Shadow dodges out of the way.
What are you talking about, Elise? I would never hurt you.
Liar! I saw what you did! You burned my city to the ground!
No, your mind is just playing tricks on you. I've never even been to.
You invaded my city and slaughtered my people!
Oh my god, she's so high.
I've never even been to Uvujavar.
Cut to interior City Hall. The mayor of the city, Jason King, a balding fat man in a cheap suit, sits in his chair. In front of him are 5 masked figures. Huh? 2 of them are Knuckles and Tails. One is a man who is obviously Eggman.
I don't understand. How'd you guys do it?
That's not important, Mayor King. What is important is that we did it. We saved our city.
I don't understand.
We had a problem. A big problem. A demon from another dimension was going to destroy this city. But we found a way to stop it.
So why is there still a large dragon outside terrorizing everyone? And who's that princess next to it?
Steps forward. Because someone pulled at the wrong thread and unraveled our timeline. There was once a hero who saved the city. But now, he's gone.
Furious. You made a mess of things, little one.
Sarcastic. Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Dude, it's Sergeant O!
Ignores Tails to Eggman. This is all your fault. You were supposed to save the city, not destroy it.
Don't you think I know that? You fuck.
The mayor's eyes dart from each of the masked figures to the next. He looks confused.
Confused. What the hell's going on? Who are all you people?
The ghost possessing just left his body.
End scene.
Interior, Eggman control room. Night. Sonic and the Ultimate Lifeform are locked in an incredible battle. They fly in quick circles around each other, trading blows with their claws. The Ultimate Lifeform lands a heavy punch to the side of the Hedgehog's head. The Hedgehog, however, quickly recovers and elbows the monster in the face. The monster stumbles backwards, but then leaps forward with a heavy punch of his own. The Hedgehog rolls out of the way and onto his feet as the monster falls forward. The Hedgehog quickly leaps up to meet him, bringing both sets of claws down onto the monster's head.
You ready to give up yet? I have to save the world, you know. Can't be wasting time with you.
The monster doesn't respond. Instead, he whips Sonic off of his body and onto the floor. The Hedgehog quickly skids along the floor, but is quick to leap back up. The monster slowly approaches him, and Sonic backs away slowly.
Come on, you fucker.
I'm invested.
The monster lashes out at the Hedgehog, striking him in the chest. Sonic is sent hurtling through the air and slams into a computer screen. The monster walks slowly towards him. Sonic gets up, slowly, with a hand pressed against his chest.
No.
He looks up at his opponent. The monster lets out a terrible growl and speeds towards the Hedgehog. Sonic doesn't have enough time to dodge. The monster slams into him, the weight of his body crushing the life out of him.
I wasn't fast enough.
Okay.
Sonic the Hedgehog reaches a hand out to the control console above him as he lets out his final breath.
What?
Desperately pushing the big red button that says, "Release lock." The button clicks, and a loud screeching sound is heard as the wall stood behind the monstrosity for so long falls to the ground. The Ultimate Lifeform is flung from the ship, crashing down to the city below. Sonic's body lies there on the floor. The ship,
Holy shit!
without a pilot, is quickly taken over by computerized controls.
What? Huh?
It turns and flies away from Earth. Exterior, city, night. The city continues to burn as Shadow, Elise, and the dragon are locked in battle. Elise looks up as the flying fortress soars overhead. The dragon lets out a mighty roar as he realizes what's happened. Shadow turns to see the ship flying off into the distance.
Shit!
Shit!
That's Sonic's line! Sonic's one who says shit.
Fuck! The
piss.
dragon chases after the ship as the heroes from below watch it fly away over the trees. Suddenly, the dragon is intercepted by the Ultimate Lifeform's body, crashing into the ground.
Holy hell. The fucking precision.
The dragon has been completely smashed in the head.
The fucking precision!
Wait, keep going, wait, keep going.
That just means he's high.
Shadow runs over to it and puts 2 bullets straight through its head, putting it out of its misery.
It wasn't already dead.
Let's fucking go!
The building rumbles slightly. Shadow turns to Elise, who lays on the ground in shock at what has happened to her beloved dragon. Shadow runs over to her and gently picks her head up off the ground.
Come on, let's get out of here.
He's gone, Shadow.
I know he's gone. I'm not an idiot. But the fight's not over. We need to get out of here. There's no way of knowing how much damage that ship did as it was flying overhead. This city could be leveled by an explosion any moment.
Shadow, I don't want to run anymore.
Well, that fucking sucks. We're in Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't say that. We have to keep going.
No. It's done for me, Shadow. I want you to take me home.
But this city was our home.
No. It was never my home. I don't think it was ever yours either. It was a place we passed the time. But the Earth is our home.
What?
It's where we belong. It's where we should be laid to rest when we die.
What? Do you really believe that?
I do. Please, take me home. Take me home to Earth.
What? Shadow nods. He picks her up, cradling her in his arms.
Let's go home.
Where are we?
He walks.
I am all I am.
What the fuck is happening?
Interior, City Hall, night. Jason witnesses the aftermath of the city's destruction on his computer screens. He turns back to the masked figures in front of him and sighs.
As much as it would be in the government's best interest to keep this organization alive, I'm sorry. We can't afford to keep supporting this group when so much is at stake.
You can't be serious.
I'm afraid I am. We tried to save it, we failed. And now we gotta clean up this mess.
This is bullshit!
Calm down, little creature. This organization has caused more harm to this world than any other thing in existence.
You can't seriously believe that.
I absolutely do, and I'm going to prove it.
The group begins to argue among themselves as they try to come to grips with their situation.
Silence! I know this comes as a shock, but it's for the greater good of the world.
Suddenly, Amy and Rouge enter the room.
It's about time you got here. We've been waiting forever.
What?
You are here in my house under my permission, and you made me wait.
Huh? The group turns towards the newcomers, all of them sharing confused glances.
All right, what's going on?
You tell us. You sent us a message saying we were all needed here.
I most certainly did not send any such message.
Well, someone did.
This is ridiculous. If no one sent a message, how did all of us end up here?
I don't know. I'm as confused by all this as you are.
We're in grave danger. No! No!
Say the line.
Read the line.
Say the line.
Read the line.
Say the line red. Say the line red.
Did you write this fucking line?
Everybody shut up. Red, you have to sell this.
Oh my god, there's so much pressure.
You
got this.
You got it.
Fucking hell.
You got it.
I believe in you, Red.
We're in grave danger. The killer is among us.
That's Among Us. Why would any of us kill the group? We're all rich and famous because of it.
Yeah, this is some sort of sick joke. I think we all should leave if this is going to turn into a massacre.
I agree. Let's all just leave now.
A voice cries out from off-screen. It's the voice of Gerald Robotnik. He's just as confused as the others are.
Wait! Stop! What's going on?
The group turns to look at him.
The city is destroyed because of your insolence.
Why would I destroy the city? I live here!
That's not the only thing. This book, this so-called Book of Prophecy from 7,000 years ago, says that the world will soon come to an end, and you're the one who will bring about its destruction.
What? I am?
Yes, the government has known about you for quite some time now. We've been trying to stop you for years.
Well, I have some bad news for you. Your plan has failed. Sonic the Hedgehog is dead.
The group once again begins arguing with one another.
Sonic
Jason
can't
tells
be
everyone to
dead.
shut up.
Shut up! I don't think that's entirely true. I'm fairly certain that hedgehog over there is him.
Everyone looks at the mysterious figure standing in the corner.
Sonic? Is that you?
The figure doesn't answer. Instead, he slowly and silently steps from the shadows. This mysterious man is revealed to be none other than Sonic. No longer a hedgehog, but a human being.
Wait, we didn't finish.
Oh my
Everyone
god.
is shocked.
That's him. It's him. The prophecy has been fulfilled.
Jesus Christ.
Can we continue?
Oh my god.
God
damn. What?
So that's
fucking roller coaster.
So that's Sonic Destruction episode 1.
Oh,
The chamber of guns has been opened.
Oh my god.